afternoon or whenever you're watching this. How are you this absolutely fantastic day? You know, let's do a little bit of review, shall we? Because customary units, the way that we measure things, it kind of requires a review because it's a lot. Back in the olden days, when we used to just talk about the metric system, things were pretty darn easy. Like if you wanted to measure some liquid, you would go from a liter, right? A liter would be one unit that you would use, and it would just equal 1,000 milliliters. And it's pretty simple, right? 1,000 of those. So if you said, hey, if there were 4 of those, how many milliliters? Well, you just multiply it by 1,000. Right, so 4 liters would be 4,000. Easy stuff, right? And let's say if we had something that was weight, we're going to say this is a paper bag, right? We would say it was a kilogram, right? A kilogram. So a kilogram is a unit of weight, kind of similar to the pound, although it's actually heavier than a pound. It's actually equal to 2.2 pounds. And so for this, 1 kilogram would be equal to 1,000 grams. And again, pretty darn easy stuff, right? You just multiply it by 1,000 if you want. That's fine. Okay. Then we get into our system of measure, which is, it's not, it's a little different, right? We have our classic King Gallon. And of course I lost my thing, and that's okay. So I'm not stopping, folks. Listen, I ain't stopping. I don't care what happens. So here we go. We have our classic King Gallon, but this is our modified version, okay? Our modified version because I'm not gonna explain what King Gallon is, okay? At this point, if you've already seen my previous stuff and you already know those lessons, I'm not gonna explain what King Gallon is, okay? Go back and watch my other videos or you know what it is, okay? So we added some fractions here, right? So 1/4 of a gallon is 1 quart. 2/4 of a gallon, which people never say, is 2 quarts, although people just say half gallon. Nobody says 2/4 of a gallon, right? Is a half a gallon, okay? 3/4 of a gallon is 1, 2, 3 quarts. Nobody says 4/4 of a gallon. They just say 1 gallon, okay? Nobody would ever say 4/4 of a gallon, right? So it's 1/4 is 1 quart, 1/2 is 2, and 3/4, we wouldn't say 3/4, we would really say 3/4 of a gallon or 3. We would say our is 3 quarts, okay? So that's that. Then we can get into time. Well, time is interesting because we can take an hour and we can break it up into 4 chunks. Ignore the red lines for now, okay? Because that's something weird. So let's just concentrate on these right here. We can take an hour, we can break it up into 4 chunks. 1 quarter, 2 quarters, which we would never say, we would say 1/2, okay? So 1 quarter, 1/2, 3/4, and a full hour, okay? And right here it shows what each equivalent for the minute is, okay? 1/4 of an hour is 15. Half hour, of course, we knew that. That's common knowledge, is 30, and 3/4 of an hour is 45. Now, these red lines here were just a little thought experiment we had for hey, what if we said 1/3 of an hour? Nobody says that, folks. Nobody, come on. Nobody in the real world says, oh, we're leaving in 1/3 of an hour. But just in case, if things got wacky, what if in an alternate universe someone did? If you were to divide the hour up into thirds, it would be 3 20-minute chunks. 20, 20, 20 is 60. But again, it's pretty rare stuff. So this is a way that you can also do fractions of a unit, okay? Just like King Gallon, you could also do fractions of a unit. Speaking of which, whereas before you've got the kilograms and go, oh boy, how easy is that? 1,000 grams is a kilogram. Weight for us in the USA is a little more complicated. We go by the pound. Oh, I should have said, I said 16. Yeah, oh, why do I have 16 here? What? Oh, it's because 16 ounces is a pound. That's why. 1 pound is 16 ounces. And then you can break that down into fractions, okay? You can break that down into quarters. 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, whole. 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, whole, the whole thing. Okay, and we see in this handy dandy diagram that 1/4 of a pound is 4 ounces. We don't say 2/4 of a pound, we say 1/2 is 8 because that is half of 16. And 3/4 of a pound is 12 ounces. Again, you just count by fours because each of the quarter pound is 4 ounces. 4, 4, 4, 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So let's say you wanted to convert, okay? This is going to be a quick video today. Let's say if you wanted to convert yards to feet, pounds to ounces. So if you're going from a larger unit to a smaller, feet to inches is larger to smaller. Pounds to ounces is larger to smaller. Yards to feet is, you do multiplication, okay? You multiply. So whatever the original thing, I don't care if it's 5 or 3 or 7, it doesn't matter what it is, okay? You use multiplication. Well, what do I multiply it by? Well, that depends. How many feet are in a yard? Oh, it's 3. There are 3 feet in a yard, according to this handy dandy diagram. Okay, 1, 2, 3 feet in a yard. And here's a quick review of the fractional units of that. 1/3 of a yard is 1 foot. 2/3 of a yard is 2 feet. And nobody says 3/3 of a yard. You would just say 1. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And for pounds, how many ounces did we say are in a pound? 16. So we would multiply this by 16. However many pounds it is, times 16. And of course, for feet to inches, we know, where's that diagram again? Oh, here's a diagram that talks about, it doesn't actually say right here that there's 12 inches in a foot. But again, we should just know that by now, okay? So we should know that if you go from foot to inches, you multiply it by 12. 7 times 12 for feet to inches. 3 times 16 for pounds, because there's 16 ounces in a pound, and so on. This little bad boy right here is how you talk about also taking the idea of a foot and breaking it down into quarters. 1/4 of a foot, we don't say, again, we say a half. 1/4 of a foot is 3 inches. A half of a foot is 6. See, 3 and 3. 3/4 of a foot, or you can say 3/4 of a foot, is 9. Okay, 3, 3, and 3. Again, that's throwing a lot at you, but we learned a lot. So we've got gallons, we've got quarts, we've got ounces, we've got foot, we've got this, we've got a mystery bag with stuff in it. All this wonderful stuff, okay? And that's pretty much all of it, okay? So that's our review. Have a wonderfully fantastic day, and let's move on with our life. All right.